Good afternoon, and welcome to the Goldstein Theater, part of the Kupferberg Center for the Arts. This is our annual Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration, and we're proud to continue this annual tradition to recognize a heroic martyr of this nation who came right here to Queens College in 1965 to deliver a speech in the then new Colden Auditorium. And we are profoundly grateful and humbled to partner with the borough president, our borough president here in the world's borough, the great Donovan J. Richards Jr. A big round of applause. We'll hear from him shortly. Thank you, Borough President Richards, so much for your support. And we couldn't do this without the talented staff and leadership of the Kupferberg Center for the Arts. Do check out the rest of their year-round programming, which encompasses music and dance and theater, everything you can imagine right here on this stage or next door in Colden. Now, I ask you, please rise physically or spiritually for the playing of the Black National Anthem. Lift every voice and sing. This will be performed by our very own Aaron Copeland School of Music graduate students, vocalist Isema Leonard and pianist Nathan Faraz. The lyrics can be accessed by using the QR code printed in your program if you'd like to follow along or add your voice.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing arise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died, yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our Father tears has watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered, out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our wearies, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee. Lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, may we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land.
What a moving rendition of that profound song. Thank you so much. Now, a moment of silence in honor of Dr. King himself and all those who sacrificed their lives. People such as Cheney, Goodman, and Schwerner, for whom our iconic clock tower is named. People who gave everything that they could to advance the cause of civil rights and social justice for each and every one of us. A moment of silence. And just another moment for the piano to be moved off stage, if you will. Thank you. I'd like to begin by expressing our appreciation here at Queens College for so many guests who have made their way here and who support this institution day in, day out. Not everyone is here yet, but I do want to list all of their names, so if one of these is your elected official and they show up, be sure to mention that we acknowledge their presence. I know with the weather, it's going to take a moment. Some people may still be stuck on the LIE out there. New York State Assembly member Khalil Anderson, a proud alumnus of Queens College. Vice Chair of the CUNY Board of Trustees, Sandra Wilkin. The University Dean for Special Programs, Michael Hodges, and the President of the Vaughn College of Aeronautics, Sharon DeVito, the Provost of our sister institution, Medgar Evers College, Antoinette Coleman, the Vice President of Equity and Inclusion at St. John's University, our neighbor, Rachel Pereira, our Vice President for Finance and Administration and Chief Information Officer, Troy Hahn, Associate Provost Maria De Longoria, Akeem Pollock, Chairperson of the CUNY University Student Senate, Keisha Sutton James, the granddaughter of Percy E. Sutton, for whom the SEEK program is named, and all of our students and staff representatives from high schools nearby. That includes our campus neighbors, Townsend Harris High School and John Bowne High School. And finally, welcome. All right, they're in the house. Big round of applause for yourselves. We hope that you'll matriculate here at Queens College when you're finished with your high school education. And a big shout out and welcome to the family members of our esteemed honoree, Carol Jenkins. That would include her daughter Elizabeth Hines, her grandchildren Sophie Hines Moudry and Samuel Hines Moudry, and her sister Holly Lowe. Big round of applause for all of them. I'd like to thank the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Planning Committee for outstanding dedication. They got started a year ago. In fact, next week after the holiday, we'll start planning for 2027. The committee was led by two co-chairs, our Dean of Diversity and Chief Diversity Officer, and diversity is still celebrated here. It's at the core of everything that we do. That's Jerima DeWeese, and the Dean of Arts and Humanities, Simone Yearwood. Please turn your attention to the screen, which features all the members of the committee. They're all listed right there, and the offices that have supported this event. Many thanks. Welcome to the Queens County and New York City community, the college department chairs, members of the cabinet, faculty, staff, students, and alumni. And all of you, you are all VIPs, and you are always, each and every one of you, welcome year-round on our beautiful campus. We have such a spectacular lineup for you this afternoon with remarks from leading government officials, student leaders who are the future government officials, a new video in recognition of the 60th anniversary of the Percy E. Sutton SEEK program, a keynote address from the distinguished Carol Jenkins, and a musical performance from award-winning vocalist Tyreek McDowell. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a man, a hero, whose words and actions continue to guide and inspire us, not just this day, but throughout the year. Even though decades have passed, his message of justice, equality, and hope is alive and even more needed now than ever. At Queens College, we try to live every day the values that Dr. King stood for through our community projects, our advocacy for students who are so deserving, and our educational programs. We like to strengthen the connections to the community as a civic institution on campus and throughout the neighborhood. Our motto in Latin is Discimus et Serviamus, which translated into English means we learn so that we may serve. We're so proud of our own historic connection to Dr. King. After the brutal murders of Cheney, Goodman, and Schwerner, who were registering voters in the Deep South, two of the trio, which was mixed in ethnicity and faith, two of them having connections to Queens College and CUNY, Dr. King came to visit Colden Auditorium in May of 1965, and he left us with insights in a speech that was so powerful. Society has moved ahead in many ways thanks to his efforts and those whom he led, but we know there's still much important work ahead, even, perhaps especially, right now, right here. So That's why we do this event every Sunday before the holiday as a reminder to stay committed to that equitable future, the fairer, the more just future that Dr. King foresaw for us, our children and grandchildren. And now we'd like to invite up to the podium someone we're fortunate to have as a leader here, whose inaugural will occur in just a week right here on this beautiful campus. A loyal supporter of Queens College, co-sponsor of today's event, a champion of public higher education as the engine of the American dream. His leadership through capital funding on this campus and for the other CUNY institutions throughout Queens, our sisters, Queensborough Community College, LaGuardia Community College, York, and the School of Law, that builds on his great record of support for education, which he started when he was at the New York City Council. He created the Immigrant Welcome Center at Borough Hall and is seen frequently at events at this campus. Let's have a warm welcome for the Queens Borough President, recently reelected, Donovan J. Richards, Jr.
It is good to see so many of you here today as we celebrate a man who, through his struggle, made so many of our own dreams a reality. Thank you to my good friends, CUNY Chancellor Felix Matos Rodriguez, and of course our Queens College President. Let's give it up for Frank Wu and his team, Jeff and Jay, and all of their capable staff who put this event together each and every year. You do so much to help the young people of our borough and city to get the quality college education that they deserve. Might I add, my sister is an alum of this campus as well. So let's give it up for them once again and their entire team for what they do. Today, this school honors Dr. King, the giant, but this school also honors his legacy every single day by helping the diverse student body fulfill their dreams and reach their highest potential. Students of all colors, races, religions, ethnicities, sexual orientations, and gender identities gather here each and every day in the noble pursuit of higher education. They are aided by teachers, staff members, and administrators committing to help all Queens College students secure a better future for themselves and their families. And it's no wonder why Dr. King visited Queens College on May 13, 1965. He came here to pay tribute to Andrew Goodman, Queens College student and a civil rights activist who was brutally murdered in Mississippi 1 year earlier while trying to register Black residents to vote. Andrew embodied allyship and all that makes Queens College and this borough great. Speaking about Andrew, Dr. King said that he, along with others, paid the supreme price for this struggle, and I'm sure that we will see in many ways that his death and their deaths were not in vain. When you take a look around this campus, there's evidence all around us that both of their deaths were not in vain. And I know for a fact that I would not have been the first Black man elected to be your borough president if Dr. King and civil rights movement did not exist. Queens would not be the world's greatest melting pot, where all our cultures and creeds can achieve anything if it weren't for Andrew's sacrifice. But we know darn well, 2026, that the great progress that we've made is now being undermined. And over the past year, we've seen the Trump administration work tirelessly to erase Black history and to kneecap the future of our Black community. In broad daylight, the president is systemically attacking diversity, equity, and inclusion. But make no mistake that this borough will stand for diversity, equity, and inclusion all the way around. We see them attacking our healthcare, gerrymandering congressional districts, targeting voting rights and immigrant rights. But we will once again say proudly in this borough of 190 countries and 360 languages and dialects that are spoken every day, that we will never build walls in Queens County, that we will build bridges in Queens County. But we know all too well why they want to dismantle this. They are terrified of Black expression at the ballot box. They're intimidated by Black excellence. They cringe at the thought of Black leadership. And what we are seeing coming out of Washington is a stain on our nation and a slap in the face to all that Dr. King stood for. But we in Queens are not going to sit idly by while they try to take away the hard-fought gains of the civil rights movement. Because Americans of all faiths, nationalities, and political persuasions have the obligation to be active participants in our democracy. And that means being willing to speak out against injustice wherever it occurs, no matter who is committing it. It means standing with our brothers and sisters in Minnesota as they were attacked by ICE agents unjustly. Because we all share one common humanity, and that means all of us, including our leaders at the highest levels of government, have the obligation to treat people with kindness and respect and dignity. And it also means we can never allow hatred among individuals and groups to fester. For the festering of such hatred will only take us further away from the ideal America that Dr. King envisioned. In Dr. King's ideal America, people of all creeds and backgrounds will all live together in harmony as brothers and sisters. Today, it seems we are getting further away from that ideal, but it is not too late to change course. And we can change our nation's course if we follow Dr. King's lead and speak out for what is right. Because at the end of the day, we are all called to be of service. Service to ourselves, our community, our city, and our country. It's what Dr. King was all about. And by heeding Dr. King's call to service, we can build the ideal community he dreamed of. We can start building it right here in our city, in our country, and especially in Queens County. That being said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. May we all stand up against injustice when we see it. May we all stand firmer together in our belief that the dream that Dr. King had is still alive. And while you might have killed the dreamer, they have not killed the dream. Happy MLK Day to everyone. God bless you. May God bless the United States of America.
Thank you so much. That's our Borough President, Donovan Richards. Of course, here we are all about students, 16,000 strong. And so here to greet the entire audience on behalf of the student body should be William Barron.
Good morning, Queens. I say it again. Good morning, Queens. Really, that's what I love to hear. Good morning, everyone. It is truly an honor to stand before you today. We are not just here to remember Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We are here to carry his legacy forward. Today's theme, where do we go from here? It's not just a question, it is a call to our hearts, our minds, and our actions. When I think about that question, I don't hear it as a history. I hear it as something deeply personal. Because every step of my leadership journey here at Queens College has been shaped by moments where I had to ask myself, where do I go from here? There were times when I felt unheard, times when I felt invisible, times would it have been easier to stay silent. But I learned something powerful. Silence never changes anything. Growth happens when we stand up. Healing happens when we come together. And real change happens when we refuse to give up on each other. As a student leader in student government, the veteran clubs, and campus organizations, I have firsthand what community looks like. I have watched students walk in feeling lost and walked out feeling empowered. I have seen what happens when we create space where people finally feel safe to speak, to be themselves, to be seen. That is what Dr. Martin Luther King fought for. Not just laws, but dignity. Not just right, but humanity. So when we ask, where do we go from here? We go forward together, We go for it by lifting each other's up hands when the world tries to tear us down. We go for it by listening when someone is brave enough to share their story. We go forward by standing in the gap for those who don't yet have the strength to stand alone. This campus is filled with dreams. First-generation students, veterans rebuilding their lives, students balancing work, family, and school. Every single one of those students' stories matters. Dr. King believed that ordinary people could do extraordinary things. He believed service could change the world. And I believe that same power lives right here in this room. You don't need a microphone to be a leader. You don't need a title to create change. You just need a heart. Where do we go from here? We go to the places that need our courage. We go to the conversations we've been avoiding. We go to the people who feel forgotten. We choose community over comfort. We choose justice over silence. We choose love over hate. Because Dr. Martin Luther King taught us that hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And love is not passive. Love shows up. Love speaks up. Love fights as what is right. So today, I challenge you. Be brave. Be kind. Be bold. Share for something bigger than yourself. Help someone who feels invisible. Speak up when something isn't right. Because when future generations ask, what did you do when it mattered? I want to say, I stood up. I served. I cared. Where do we go from here? We go forward with purpose. We go forward with faith. We go forward with fire in our hearts. Sorry. Okay. Let us honor Dr. King, not just with a holiday, but of a lifetime of action. Thank you. Enjoy.
Mr. Barron proudly served this nation in the United States Army before enrolling here. We're so proud of our veterans. Now, I would ask you to please direct your attention to the screen behind me for the premiere of the Queens College 6th installment of its MLK Day video series. This began in 2021. It was an idea conceived by Vice President for Communications and Marketing and Senior Advisor to the President, Jay Hershenson, a double alum of Queens College. He's never left. And it's in recognition of our own iconic role as part of the civil rights movement. This was followed by an in-depth exploration of Dr. King's visit that has been alluded to. In 2023, the series explored the story behind the Democratic Convention in Atlantic City in 1964. And then in 2024, we commemorated the anniversary of the brutal killings of the civil rights workers, Cheney, Goodman, and Schwerner, which shocked the nation. And just last year, we looked at the extensive civil rights archive housed here in our Rosenthal Library. This year, we celebrate the 60th anniversary of the City University of New York's Search for Education, Elevation, and Knowledge program, SEEK, named for Percy E. Sutton. This was created and produced by our own Office of Communications and Marketing. It will be on YouTube and throughout social media after today, so you are the first to be able to see this professional, high-quality video honoring SEEK.
The year was 1966, and the sky was not the limit. The space race dominated headlines when the Soviet Union bested America with a soft landing on the moon. Months later, America's NASA Surveyor 1 touched down on the lunar surface.
Tonight, Surveyor 1, designed to soft land on the moon, is making its final approach.
But on the city and town streets of our nation, faraway moonshots were not at the forefront of the minds of those fighting for social, educational, and economic justice. The civil rights movement was growing louder and more determined and even dangerous. In Mississippi, the March Against Fear saw James Meredith get shot and then survive. The march continued and inspired thousands to register to vote.
So much happened in 1966. Stokely Carmichael takes over as chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, deposing John Lewis, and takes it in this much more militant direction. In the middle of the Meredith March, he unleashes the chant of Black Power.
We want Black Power!
The Black Panther Party is formed in Oakland, California.
And in Chicago, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. moved into a tenement in a poor neighborhood. He sought to dramatize the need for affordable housing and to counter segregation in neighborhoods and schools. There were calls for the establishment of Black Studies programs, and campus protests demanded colleges and universities enroll more students from underrepresented groups. 1 year earlier, in May 1965, Dr. King spoke in Colton Auditorium at Queens College about the need for greater educational access.
The problem is becoming even more critical today because of a lack of educational opportunities, because of discrimination, because of a denial of apprenticeship training. We as a people have been limited by and large to unskilled and semi-skilled labor, not because we didn't have the ability to do the job, but because opportunities denied us the training necessary to do them.
Here in New York State, Governor Nelson Rockefeller and the state legislature were negotiating the budget in Albany during the winter of 1966. CUNY officials, well aware of campus protests connected with civil rights struggles, began working with Black and Puerto Rican legislators to craft a new university program.
We wanted to create a program so that the injured of our society could occupy positions of power. The term SEEK came out of that.
We decided to set up a program under which we would have criteria that would enable these young people to be admitted to the City University.
Education gives people the tools with which to compete in the marketplace. Without it, you're walking around with a real handicap. With it, you have a chance to compete.
Much is made of the so-called midnight march. We met with Tony Travia.
We explained to him that there would be the inability for him to be re-elected speaker if our votes were not available. That night, the SEEK program was born.
On July 5th, 1966, the Search for Education, Elevation, and Knowledge program, known as SEEK, was signed into law. It provided academic, financial, and counseling support to qualified City University of New York students who were economically and educationally disadvantaged. SEEK became the model for numerous special programs, including at SUNY, private colleges, and throughout the nation.
I give God and Percy Sutton credit for starting SEEK, EOP, HEOP, because if that was not in the budget, I don't think I was smart enough to develop and do all the research and come up with the finding.
Since then, SEEK has served as an invaluable ladder for upward social mobility, helping hundreds of thousands earn an education and become contributing members and leaders of the community. In 2010, the New York State Legislature named the SEEK program in honor of Percy Ellis Sutton, the former state legislator and Manhattan Borough president.
The SEEK program is such an important part of my grandfather's legacy. Of all the things that he did, the SEEK program was one of the two things that he was most proud of. Education has always been the most defining vehicle for advancement and kind of the avenue to the middle class.
A Sikh or CD student knows the value of an education because somebody is showing them the value and showing how to get the most out of the experience while they're here so they could be leaders of tomorrow. When you meet an alum of a CD or a Sikh program, they're almost always in a field that's helping other people.
At Queens College, the Sikh program has had many success stories.
When a Sikh student first comes, they must fulfill a summer program. We give them a workout with reading and writing and math. So it's kind of like they sit in their fall classes ahead of the game.
People I know on whom the program was so impactful that they then returned and became Sikh directors. You have legislators in Albany. You have business people all over New York City.
Alumnus Adriano Espaillat, Congress member in New York's 13th Congressional District, is a 1978 Sikh graduate.
The Sikh program gave me great opportunities. Little did I know, as a young man, that as a Sikh student, that I would then become an assembly member myself and fight for this program.
Khalil Anderson, class of 2019, became the youngest ever black male assembly member after his election in 2020.
To take what I learned at the program, the advocacy that I learned, the organizing that I learned and sharpened, the ability to make relationships that I learned and sharpened. Because of the Sikh program, I'm a product of the hard work that Professor Blackman Richards and the various directors, leaders, counselors, academic advisors that held me up. Family and camaraderie was what allowed me to be successful in the Sikh program and paved the way to run for public office, to represent their wants, their needs, their demands, because they were my wants, my needs, and demands as a student and as an organizer on campus.
Alumna Carmine Kulut, class of 2019, former Student Association president, is now pursuing her PhD at Cornell University.
Every semester that I teach at Queens College, I make sure to highlight the Sikh program and its achievements. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Sikh program. A lot of my academic success has been because of the support of the Sikh student as an undergraduate student. I have a sense of achievement, and I know that this is a school that produces leaders, and this is a school that will produce the next civil rights leaders that are engaged, that are informed, and that have a passion for the people.
They have to commit themselves to the personal pursuit of excellence. They need to be the very best that they can be.
The excellence. That's what I see in these Sikh graduates. 20, 30, 40, 50% of the Sikh graduates are graduating at the very highest level of their classes. That speaks to the excellence that is poured into Sikh students and lifted out of Sikh students by their directors and their staffs.
For 60 years, Sikh has opened the doors to education, to leadership, and to change, allowing students to pursue their dreams. Thanks to the great civil rights leaders like Dr. King and visionary educators, programs like Sikh are here to stay.
I was selected by the President of the United States to be a delegate to one of the most important conferences that the United States engages in. It was then called the G7 conference. And when I got to South Africa, there were numerous young people who were doing advanced work, who came to celebrate with me to talk about how beneficial the Sikh program had been and to thank me for my participation.
That was a great video. Another round of applause. And for the talented crew that move the piano, they'll move it back. They do everything to keep things running up here and making the rest of us look good. So I'm so appreciative. Now, I'd like to ask that the Borough President, Donovan Richards Jr., and the Planning Committee co-chairs, Deans Jarima DeWeese and Simone Yearwood, please join me at the podium up here on stage. And again, be careful making your way up through the darkness here. Carol Jenkins, esteemed journalist, author, and civil rights advocate, you have devoted your entire career, your life, to advancing racial and gender justice in the spirit of Dr. King. Originally from Alabama, you moved to New York City at a young age, growing up on Merrick Boulevard in Jamaica, Queens, and you've been making your mark on the borough, the city, the state, and the nation ever since. From your groundbreaking work as an Emmy award-winning broadcast journalist, amplifying the stories of inequality, to your leadership as founding president of the Women's Media Center and later as president and CEO of the ERA Coalition and Fund for Women's Equality, you've been a driving force behind national efforts. This advocacy has helped to build broad, inclusive coalitions committed to dismantling those systematic barriers and expanding civil rights protections for each and every human being. You serve as the host of Black America on CUNY TV and continue to be so highly respected and effective as an activist and communicator. In recognition of your many decades of courageous service and unwavering commitment, we are so pleased to invite the Borough President to present you with a special proclamation. Here's the Borough President.
Doesn't it sound like Frank Wu should have like a voice on radio and television too? It's great. First of all, just want to thank Carol Jenkins for your contributions and being such a pioneer, not only for our city, for our borough, but for our country. And you look at some of the coverage that she's done over the course of the last few decades. You think of the release of Nelson Mandela from prison, your coverage on that, and all of the work you've done to center, especially women in media and equality in media. You really made great contributions to the city, to our community. And as a son of Jamaica, can't be prouder than to see you, a Jamaica Queens girl who's grown up and done so much to be great representation of our community. With that being said, on behalf of all 2.4 million people in Queens County and growing, the world's borough, I salute and thank Carol Jenkins for her many years of outstanding contributions to the betterment of our society. Congratulations.
Before you speak, Ms. Jenkins, we're also pleased, Queens Colleges, to present you with a token of our esteemed recognition, a certificate recognizing you as our 2026 Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Speaker. It's a commemoration. The screen behind me is showing the list of the prior impressive winners of this annual award. And we have a gift for you, a framed picture that we designed showing a collage of prominent moments from your illustrious career. All right, please welcome to the podium, Carol Jenkins.
Wow, what a production. But, you know, Queens knows how to do it, right? Thank you so much. It is absolutely my honor to be included in this program today that has already had so many moving comments about Martin Luther King, about Queens, about the time that we're in. So it is my honor. And now that's, you know, Foch Boulevard and 170th Street in Queens, you know, where I love it. It's the first time that it's actually gotten an applause, you know. I say it all the time, but if you're not a Queens person, you don't really appreciate what that means. To President Frank Wu, Queensborough President Donovan Richards, and King Day Planning Committee co-chairs Simone Yearwood and Jeremy DeWeese, my dear friend Jay Hershenson, who, by the way, was responsible for my getting the job of hosting Black America on CUNY TV, and we're celebrating 10 years, almost 300 interviews, conversations. So thank you, Jay, and we're delighted to have CUNY trustee Sandra Wilkin, who is the vice chair here today. We were talking about some of the amazing progress that's taken place with this university. We're celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. We're also remembering the ultimate sacrifice of student Andrew Goodman. Here in the county of Queens, home to over 1 million immigrants representing some 160 countries, making it, I think, the most diverse county in the country, maybe even the world. So congratulations on that. And also, Queens, as we know, is the former home of a Democratic Socialist mayor, Zoran Mandami, much in the mold of Social Democrat Martin Luther King Jr. So he got it honestly. Congratulations to President Wu, Queens College, for its formidable diversity. I cannot tell you how proud I am of that. The national ranking and it being such an esteemed place of learning. So Queens, I arrived in this community called Jamaica, Queens as a 3-year-old in the middle of, if you can appreciate the irony of the 1947 blizzard in Queens, where 27 inches of snow fell, drifts that were 10 feet high. And I always said, what a welcome for a 3-year-old coming from quite hot Lowndes County, Alabama. And here we are today, snowstorm. It's a thing. It's a Queens thing, and I feel so welcome. My small family was a part of a massive migration of Americans from the rural South that lasted from the early 1900s to probably 1970. More than 6 million people came north seeking work during and after 2 world wars. We were among the first immigrants, so to speak, who came to Queens. Among those were hundreds of thousands of Black people who left less than satisfactory circumstances looking for a better life. We moved to a corner house, an attached brick and stone Tudor. You probably will recognize my house if you go over to Foch Boulevard and 170th Street. Right on the edge of the historic Black enclave known as St. Albans and the historically landmarked Adsley Park. We always said we were from St. Albans, if we were trying to impress, but and Adsley Park if we were really in, where the likes of historian W.E.B. Du Bois, Billie Holiday, Lena Horne, Jackie Robinson, and Count Basie moved in the 1940s and the 1950s. It was the suburban extension of the Harlem Renaissance in the 20s and 30s. So that cultural seating and circumstances that took place. So I want to say that I never met Martin Luther King Jr., but the impact that he had on my life was phenomenal. And I had to look it up again. It was 1964 that I actually, Queens girl, somehow got on a plane and went to Lincoln, Nebraska to see Martin Luther King Jr. It was a Christian event. Thousands of people gathered on Lincoln, Nebraska. And one of the things that I learned, in addition to hearing his marvelous, compelling way of addressing our situation, was that in Lincoln, Nebraska, if there was a stop sign that said, "Do not walk," nobody walked. It was the most astonishing thing, being from Queens. So there were 2 experiences there, and I looked around and I said, what's the matter? Nobody's crossing the street. And somebody said, "Don't you see that sign? It says, 'Don't walk.'" I said, in Queens, we never pay attention to things like that. So, but I did when I arrived at Boston University in 1962. Martin Luther King was already a national hero. He had received his PhD in theology from BU in 1955. He had also led by then the bus boycott with Rosa Parks in Montgomery. And I was privileged enough to meet his spiritual advisor, the theologian Howard Thurman, the dean of Marsh Chapel at BU. It was Thurman's exposure to Mahatma Gandhi in India and Thurman's influence on King that led to the movement of change that we know of as peaceful nonviolence. Our second connection was my family farm. If you're going to talk about the confluence of this, the Gardner Farm in Lowndes County, Alabama, where I spent the first 3 years of my life, which was the third stopover in the historic 50-mile march King led from Selma to Montgomery on the soggy night of March 23rd of 1965. The marchers gathered and slept on our front lawn in preparation for entering the city of Montgomery the next day. That property, which is still in our family, had been gifted to my grandmother from her father, Hugh Carson, who served in the Alabama legislature during Reconstruction. Recently, last year, our family at our family church in Lowndes County had a celebration of that historic march, which was more personal than the gigantic one that we all know of everyone crossing the bridge and whatever. So this was a family celebration. But as a part of that was one of the marchers who was a teenager and walked that walk. We got the impression that her parents had pressed her into service, you know. She wasn't exactly, eager to do it, but she did it nevertheless. But one of the things that she never knew was the farm that she slept on the third night was owned by a black family. She always assumed, that it was what black families owned farms in Lowndes County, Alabama. So we brought her back to the farm and showed her around. And it was one of those moments of, we know that we're part of history, but to be able to share that with someone who spent her time walking those 50 miles and to have her be able to say and to know that that was a black-owned farm was really quite something for us. And now the third connection, and now I want you to know I'm not really just talking about myself. I'm really talking about Martin Luther King Jr., right? Because he was such a major influence. And I'm making up for the fact that I never met him, But the third connection was through my uncle, A.G. Gaston, the Birmingham businessman who posted bail for Martin Luther King in the spring of 1963. I don't know whether you remember that. That's where what came out of that jailing was the letter from a Birmingham jail, which we've used, as a symbol of resistance and of his bravery ever since. My daughter and I wrote a book about our uncle, A.G. Gaston, called Black Titan. And we always laugh about the fact that while my uncle, at President Kennedy's insistence, bailed him, got him out of jail, Martin Luther King did not want to come out of jail. It was a negotiation. We always talk about the negotiating with the negotiator. A.G. Gaston saying to Martin Luther King, "Sir, you cannot stay here. You have got to come out." And Martin Luther King, who believed that for the effort for the march, it would be better for him to stay. Fortunately, he had written on scraps of paper and on the edges of a newspaper the letter from a Birmingham jail. And so we know from that point on, that his comment that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere was written in that jail. And I don't know, maybe my uncle should have let him stay there a little bit longer. We'd have gotten much, much, much more. As we commemorate what would have been King's 97th birthday, I do believe, it's hard to count up that high as you get closer to that. For some of us in this country, we're in a state of grief, of fear, of uncertainty, because we see erasure. We see the collapse of the mainstream media that we've counted on for information. We see academia under threat. We see immigrants, like the rest of us, who have all been immigrants in one way or another, under threat. In his years as a leader in the civil rights movement, I wanted to take a look at something that doesn't get talked about a lot when you think about Martin Luther King, and that was that what he had written in his last years of life, you know, the book, where do we go from here? Do we go to chaos, or does it lead to community? He wrote what he felt had happened with all of his major work. He said there's decency and indecent that people respond to. There's equality rights, equal rights that we all want. And then there are human rights, humanity. What's humane? And he saw that our country, at the end of his life, because the book was written a year before he died, that the country had failed. And what I see is that we still are there. So what is indecency? Indecency for him was that he felt that the reason that civil rights, voting rights were enacted was that the country and the president found dogs snarling at small children indecent, and something had to be done. They were working on the Constitution, where there was a format, a blueprint for equal rights. And so he felt that they got somewhere, you know, civil rights, voting rights that happened under his watch, we can say, but not full equality. And that was because what we really needed then, as we do now, are human rights. So the question for him was, does a human being deserve, well, we know we can vote, right? That's happened. But does a human being in a country deserve housing, food, and education, security, peace? And that's a question for all of us to answer, because still our country is lacking that. Now, we can get distracted by the drama of every single day, some new thing happening that outrages us. But the thing that remains, that has not changed since Martin Luther King's day to this day, is poverty in this country. And he felt that what was at the base of this country's dis-ease, in the concept of dis-ease, not so much disease, but it is a disease, was the fact that people could not eat. And what he said was, our continuing struggle grows out of the fact that there are still two Americas. One is the habitat of men and women who have food and material necessities for their bodies, culture and education for their minds, freedom and dignity for their spirits. But there is another America. It is an America inhabited by millions of people who are poverty-stricken aliens, is what he said. Poverty-stricken aliens. In an affluent society, they are too poor to even rise with the society, too impoverished by the ages to be able to ascend using their own resources. So long as these two Americas exist, there must be a continuing struggle for what he called then, and we call now, human rights. I'm now reading the autobiography of one of King's longest advisors, the Reverend James Lawson. It's called Nonviolent, a memoir of resistance, agitation, and love. Lawson was also trained in the principles of Gandhi, spent time in India, and he was by Martin Luther King's side through so many of the victories and the challenges. And Lawson was the reason that Martin Luther King was in Memphis in 1968. And he had come because of the other America. Impoverished sanitation workers were on strike. They were poorly paid black men, and I think you've seen the signs that they use in I Am a Man to insist to the world that these were human beings, these were men who were striking, because and there had been the desire to do that for a long time, but until a badly damaged truck, a machine that they used to collect garbage, literally consumed two of their workers, dragged them in, killed them, they went out on strike, and Martin Luther King was asked by the Reverend James Lawson to come, because this was poverty at its worst. Lawson talks about they did a study, which I think we really need to do again, where they had a committee, and they sent it through the neighborhoods, interviewing people who lived there to find out what was wrong. And as the people did the interviews, we're talking about 60s, late 60s, they came across all of these babies with bloated, extended stomachs, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. And of course, St. Jude's Hospital, which was the only hospital, by the way, who decided to take these babies in and to care for them, and they were black children, and other hospitals wouldn't. What the doctor said was, these are starving babies. They have no food. And Lawson writes that the St. Jude doctors treated the babies without charge. They told us the babies were malnourished because their families were starving too. And the prescription was simple: food, but food for the whole family. King's solution, and once again, no one has asked, as Martin Luther King went through his life, he did a lot of things that people said he had no business interfering with, including the Vietnam War. He said, this is wrong, and they told him, that's not your business. Take care of your people. Mind your own business. But he was convinced that that the economic system of our country was based inefficiently, and that he said, I am now convinced that the simplest approach will prove to be the most effective. The solution to poverty is to abolish it directly by a now widely discussed measure, the guaranteed income. Oh my goodness, think about that. In America, where every single person who lives in this country has a basic income so that they don't starve, so that they have a place to live, so that they can get an education, they don't die, they'll have health care. It's incredible. It's still what we are working for here. It's still a widely discussed solution. Robin Hood, by the way, that does research on poverty in New York, has estimated we're not only talking about people that we know who are poor, impoverished, who need help. We're talking about 4 out of 5 people who live in New York City cannot afford their housing and their food. They struggle to meet those 4 out of 5. We're talking about everybody. And the researchers who are doing that, again, have said, we need to do something about this. So my friend, Jeff Madrick, who's an economics writer and a huge proponent of a basic income in the model of Martin Luther King, has said his book was The Case for Big Government. And he said, that's what government is for. It gave us Social Security. It gave us Medicare. And in his book on child poverty, The Invisible Americans, the tragic cost of child poverty, he lobbies for substantial cash grants to all families with children, regardless of income. And it was Jeff's work, not only as a writer, but as a policymaker and a funder of that work, that brought us to the child tax credit of 1921, which miraculously, they gave money to families, and you know what happened? The child poverty rate was cut in half. We do a podcast now called The Invisible Americans, and we talk about the 13 million children in this country. People who know that we're doing a podcast about child poverty think we're talking about other countries somewhere. We're talking about 13 million of our own children. Just like Memphis of so many years ago that brought Martin Luther King to that city to help those sanitation workers and to help the other impoverished people. There are a couple of great programs that are out. The state of Michigan just gave $240 million to RX Kids to do the same thing, mothers and their babies, to support them for 3 years. The Bridge Project that started in a community in New York City now works in 11 states, giving money to mothers and their children for 3 years to get them started. So that this is what, we need to be thinking about. If we're looking at the legacy of Martin Luther King, who went to the core of what was wrong with America, and that we have to fix this core before anything else can be fixed. My minister who runs the food pantry at the Church of the Ascension, Father Ed, Ascension is in downtown Manhattan. He is passionate about feeding the hungry. And he spends the entire time between the pantry sessions talking about the vegetables, what we found, we got this. And when the people arrive, he's like, they're, so happy that we are able to fulfill, that need. But it was Father Ed who reminded me, Martin Luther King actually had a prescription for all of this about how we work our way out of all of the things that we want. Now, the 4 principles, again, that came out of the Birmingham jail. We have to find out what the truth is. And so I say to you all, no matter what you hear or what you see, your own eyes are not lying. I give you that credit. You know what's true. And don't be fooled and persuaded into thinking that, oh, I did not see that, So you know the facts, you know the truth. Number 2 is negotiation. Can the change be brought about by usual methods? Can we vote somebody in? Can we work on the school board? Can we do X, Y, and Z? Figure that out. Self-purification. That's one of the things I said to Father Ed. What does that mean? He says, are you as an individual spiritually ready to do what is necessary? And then the 4th thing is direct action. And what that is creating what we would call a scene. In other words, it is making sure that people realize what is happening is indecent, because that is the thing that often moves people. So never mind the equal, never mind whatever, but is it indecent? And those are the steps that, that we have to follow. So the Reverend Howard Thurman, getting back to Boston University in my closing, in his writing said, there are 2 questions we have to ask ourselves. The first is not only where am I going, but the second question is who is going with me? Who's going with me? As you heard earlier, we're going together. The answer is we are going to build a better democracy, because the one we had, even before the latest troubles that some of us understand as troubles, the one we had wasn't all that great, because this country had such major problems. So we are building a better democracy. We're going together, and we're building a better democracy. This morning, the Reverend Wendell Lancaster of the Greater Hood Memorial AME Zion Church, who knew that I was speaking today, dedicated his sermon to me. And he had texted me last night and I'm talking about Timothy. I didn't even know, don't tell anybody, I didn't even know there was a Timothy in the Bible, But 2 Timothy, I had to go looking. Okay, yes, it's Paul in a letter to Timothy. And in that letter, he says, this is what we need to understand about where we are now, because this is a matter of endurance. Going forward, building our better democracy, he said, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. And we all know this part, I have kept the faith. And that's exactly what we need to do. Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Another big round of applause for Carol Jenkins. What a perfect speech. Thank you for those inspiring remarks.
My name is John Yanofsky. I'm the director of Kupferberg Center for the Arts, and we are thrilled and honored to be, that's right, Kupferberg, a round of applause for Kupferberg Center for the Arts. Oh, thanks, guys. Well, really, it's truly an honor for us to be here celebrating the legacy and spirit of Dr. King, and now in part 2, doing it through music, particularly jazz. And we're so blessed to have with us the incredible young rising jazz vocalist, Mr. Tyreek McDowell, and his incredible band. And you guys will be hearing and seeing Mr. McDowell a lot more. And this is an amazing opportunity where we get to experience where the great tradition and history of jazz meets its current and its modern and its future self. And we love to experience this happening right here on this bandstand. Now, Kupferberg Center, we are proud to be a home where communities gather to create and foster the arts and culture. And we are so appreciative of all of you all who help continue in this incredible history. Kupferberg has been doing this since 1961. We always like to remind you of other upcoming programs happening here at Kupferberg. You can always visit our website at kupferbergcenter.org. We'll be presenting our annual Lunar New Year celebration the incredible National Dance Theater Company from Guinea, Les Ballets Africains. Michael Feinstein will be doing a tribute to Queen's own Tony Bennett. The incredible Darlene Love will be with us. The Louis Armstrong House Orchestra, and none other than Ravi Coltrane will be celebrating the 100th birthday of his father, John. Now, we always like to acknowledge and thank our sponsors and funders who help make our programs possible: the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, the Howard Gilman Foundation, Resorts World New York City, Plaxall, our namesake benefactors, the Max and Selma Kupferberg Family Foundation, our partner in all that we do, Queens College, and all of you all. But it is also a very, very particular honor to be able to acknowledge the incredible support we receive from Northwell Health and Long Island Jewish Forest Hills Hospital. They have been a partner of Kupferberg's for 4 years, supporting our public programming, our off-site programming, and this year they are particularly supporting our jazz offering. So it is my pleasure to pass the mic over for some welcoming remarks, the CEO of Long Island Jewish Forest Hills, Ms. Lorraine Chambers-Lewis.
Thank you, thank you. Good afternoon, Queens. I have to share a couple of things because I'm geeking out a little bit, right? Carol Jenkins, she actually was the keynote speaker at my high school graduation. So I'm like, oh my God, it's her. I graduated from August Martin High School. I'm from St. Albans, Queens. So the influence that everyone has, you know, she's speaking to a high school student, then I'm hearing her speak again. She's influencing me again. And everyone here, just understand, like even the Seek program, even though I didn't graduate from the Seek program, I did graduate from the Sophie Davis program as a CUNY graduate that led me into healthcare, that put me on the stage here with you guys today. And that's amazing for CUNY, it's amazing for me, and also SUNY as well. You know, having these different programs, you know, putting folks like us in healthcare, there's a connectedness with Martin Luther King. All of you are here really celebrating and honoring Dr. King's legacy, but I hope that you realize we are Dr. King's legacy. Just the mere fact that we are here in this room together at peace, the fact that I'm on this stage, we are Dr. King's legacy. But his legacy is not just something of the past. As Ms. Jenkins said, it is a blueprint. She just laid it out for you. It is a blueprint of values and a way forward. And so let's make sure when we say, well, where are we going to go from here? She just laid it out, a piece of it, from Dr. King's legacy. So make sure that we leave here today and do something with that direction. Another thing that I wanted to mention to you in closing today, local access to excellence in education is important. I am a product of that. But local access to great quality care is equally important. These are the hallmarks of any good community. And LIJ Forest Hills and all of the Northwell components that have been investing in Queens and really popping up, amazing doctors. We have cancer services at the table out there. Make sure you stop out there. But just recognizing as a community hospital in the heart of Queens and Forest Hills, it's important. You saw that in COVID. You see that time and time again. Local access to care is important. And us supporting venues like this is very important for you to know that we are here partner with you in the community. Thank you. Thank you. The last thing that I want to share with you, Northwell had MLK celebrations as well, and they had Reverend Naomi Tutu, she's an activist, and Bishop Desmond Tutu's daughter. And one thing she said at the end that I felt compelled that I was like, I'm going to share that with this audience as well. She said, you know, you're going through all these different things, what she saw in South Africa and just witnessed such hardship. She said, don't forget the joy. She's like, in the middle of all that hardship, they still had joy. And as we are about to be here and listen to Tariq McDowell, that's joy. And so I wish all of you joy and celebrating Martin Luther King Day and his legacy and the values that we should all have in our hearts. Have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you so much.
A nation that continues year after year to spend more money on military defense than on programs of social uplift is approaching spiritual death.
Distant eyes that look at you, they're focusing in every view. What do you think the trouble be with eyes that look but do not see? Either ear that is preoccupied is difficult to open wide. How can you get the picture clear if when one speaks you do not hear? Won't you open up your senses and eliminate pretenses for the source of all enhances every aspect of your life? Oh, they say the tongue that has the taste we lack is like a whip upon the back. Why can't we taste that point of view and measure what we say and do? You see the turned-up nose that thinks we're great, we'll blow our heads all out of shape. Oh, where can be the inner glow when facial muscles tighten so? Won't you open up your senses and eliminate pretenses for the source of all enhances every aspect of your life? Of your upon your face while going through the same old pains. Oh, where can be the inner glow when facial muscles tighten so? open wide, but do they want someone inside? Won't you open up your senses and eliminate pretenses for the source of all enhances every aspect of your life? Makahanya harami to sing you. 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 Whoa, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh. Oh, hey, oh, hey, oh, love is like a light that leads you to the way. Trust is letting your heart have the final say. When you're breathing from your soul, you'll never fall away. Makahanya harami to sing you. Makahanya harami to sing you. Love is like a light that leads you to the way. Trust is letting your heart have the final say. When you're breathing from your soul, you'll never fall away. Makahanya harami to sing you. Makahanya harami to sing you. Whoa, hey, oh. When you're breathing from your soul, you're never far away. My God, you had me to shame you. My God, you had me to shame you. Love is like a light that leads you to the way. Trust is letting your heart have the final say. When you're breathing from your soul, you're never far away. My God, you had me to shame you. 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 Hello. We feeling good today, everybody? Let me hear it. We feeling good? Come on, Queens. Beautiful. Well, I'm feeling great. Thanks for asking. I'm joined here today with so many incredible musicians. I've traveled the world with a lot of these brothers of mine, and I would love it if you could show your love and appreciation for each one of them. All right. By way of the city of brotherly love, he's one of my favorite voices on his instrument. He is a graduate of both the Temple University, and now he is a current student at the Juilliard School. Y'all make some noise for the great Dylan Band at the saxophone. Hey, that's my friend. Make some noise for Dylan Band at the saxophone. I've known this next gentleman since we were students at the Oberlin Conservatory. Since then, we've gone on to travel the world, and now I owe him a lot of money. So I want y'all to make some noise for my friend and Lone Shark. This is Dan Finn at the bass, everybody. By way of Cleveland, Ohio, he is one of the most exciting percussionists on the planet, and I'm so happy to present him here. Before this summer, he had never played a jazz festival, and after this summer, he played almost every major jazz festival in the world. So I want you to make some noise for my friend. This is the great Gary Jones III. And last but definitely not least, he is an absolute titan of his instrument. He is a fellow alum of the Oberlin Conservatory. He's played with so many masters, including the great Christian McBride now, and I'm just happy I could afford him today. By way of Chicago, Illinois, the Windy City, there's none other than the great Mike King at the piano. And I am so honored to be here today to present my music in tandem with honoring the legacy of the great Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. My name is Tyreek McDowell. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. And then we were playing some selections from my latest debut album entitled Open Up Your Senses. And
having just graduated, I made a thesis. I have a core belief that if we, the individual, do some inner work and healing on our own world, that we become a light and an inspiration for those around us. And if we continue that cycle, we create small communities, larger communities, and eventually, I think, through healing, peace, love, and light, we could create a better world that is more hospitable for all of us. Is that okay? So thank you. The first selection was entitled, Won't You Open Up Your Senses? And we followed that with Nicholas Payton's The Backward Step. And now, it's also the season of Miles Davis's centennial. And you all know the great Miles Davis? Wonderful. I love that. I have hope. I have hope. No, but Miles Davis, for those who don't know, and it's okay, we're all friends and family here, just jump in the pool with us. Miles was an incredible trumpet player, composer, and I believe he changed the course of music about 4 times in his life. And we're going to honor him on his centennial with a piece entitled Blue in Green. We hope you enjoy. A strange story a symphony in blue and green of broken dreams of sinful tapestries of brass and ruby. Honey from a horn so sweet, so bitter sweet. Each eternity of blue and green of broken dreams. Thank you. Thank you. Now we're going to continue with a selection, and it was written by a wonderful pianist out of Washington, D.C. His name is Alan Johnson. And really, I think what's so beautiful about art is that I think it is the one medium in which we could all understand one another, regardless of what language that we may speak or whatever creed, color, religion, faith, whatever orientation we might have. And I think Alan Johnson's piece really reminded me that although we're surrounded by what seems to be an ever dimly lit world, that God has given us so many talents to get through it all. And in the spirit of that, we're going to play a composition entitled Somalia Rose, and have some more words by the great Dr. King.
I'm tired of marching. Tired of marching for something that should have been mine at first. I don't mind saying to you tonight. I don't mind saying to you tonight that I'm tired of the tension surrounding our day. I don't mind saying to you tonight that I'm tired of living every day under the threat of death. I have no martyr complex. I want to live as long as anybody in this building tonight. And sometimes I begin to doubt whether I'm going to make it through. I must confess I'm tired.
Blessed with the will to live, endowed with the strength to survive through the trials in life. I made it through. Yes, I smell like a rose. Some days even thought I'd die. Days even thought I cried courage from within, wouldn't let me stare down now. Covered a day, yes, I smell like a rose, rose. La, 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 la.
trying to survive through the trials in life. I made it through. Yes, I smell like a rose. Some days even thought I'd die. Days even thought I cried courage from within, wouldn't let me sit down. Now, every day, yes, I smell like a rose. Yes, I smell like a rose. Yeah. Yes, I smell like a rose. Yes, I smell like a rose. Yes, I smell like a rose. Yes, I smell like a rose.
Y'all make some noise. This is the great Dylan Band, everybody. Dylan Band, everybody. Mike King. Dan Finn. Gary Jones III. And my name is Tyreek McDowell. Thank you all so much for being here, everyone. Is it okay if we leave you with one more song? Oh, y'all really enthusiastic. I love that. Well, thank you. This last song that we're going to play was written by the great Pharoah Sanders and Leon Thomas. Oh, okay. Let's not spoil any surprises. But when I hear this song, it reminds me that though we're surrounded by so much darkness in the world, that, I think now more than ever, it's important that we hold on to the things that help us maintain our humanity. Yes, that's all right. And I implore you guys to sing along with me, especially if you're good. This one is entitled The Sun Song, and we hope you enjoy. Precious energy, won't you flow right into me? Power from the sun and love for everyone. Whoa, precious energy for all eternity. Shining from above and sending down God's love.
Precious energy, won't you flow right into me? Power from the sun, and love for everyone. Oh, precious energy, for all eternity, shining from above and sending down God's love. Everybody repeat after me. Precious energy, don't be shy, come on. Flow right into me. That's right. Power from the sun and love for everyone. Oh, precious energy. That's right. For all eternity. Shining from above and sending down God's love. Come on, sending down God's love and sending down God's love. One more one, sending down God's love and sending down God's Thank you so much, Queens College. We love you so much. And y'all sound beautiful. One more time. Dylan Band at the saxophone. That's not loud enough. Dylan Band at the saxophone. Michael King at the piano. Dan Finn at the bass. Gary Jones III at the drums. And y'all make some noise for the great memory of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King on this day. Thank you so much. We're gonna sing it one more time, is that okay? Everybody say one, come on, two, Whoa, precious energy. Let me hear it. Flow right into me. Power from the sun. And love for everyone. Whoa, precious energy for all eternity. That's right, shining from above and sending down God's love and sending down God's love. Sending down God's love and sending down God's Thank you, Queens College. We love you. My name is Tyreek McDowell. Y'all have a blessed year. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.